All right, here we go with a quick walkthrough of conditionals. I lost the original audio on this, so you get a voiceover. I started out with a little plan, trying to track through all the multi-balls to get the different starting points of it, and then track it to the modes that it went with, and seeing if we could disable those modes from being started with some conditionals. And so here we go, diving into it. So I was using Visual Studio in this one, and if you hit Control Shift F, you can start searching for things. I decided to search for multi-balls. That'll show me exactly where they started so that I can look up each of their start events and try and intercept them. Here I can see the Sneaky Tiki multi-ball starting when that mode starts. So we have Sneaky Tiki, a Volcano one, and the Scoop one. The Scoop one starts with the kicker getting activated. Oh no, I'm sorry, the Sneaky Tiki starts with the kicker getting activated. The Volcano is a Vuck that once it gets filled up with all of its balls, it'll start off. And there's the qualifier mode that listens for it with its counter. Once it gets up to 3, then it starts the mode. And then here's the scoop, which basically if you get a ball into the scoop, it will launch it. If you have a hula filled up. So make sure you get the hula lanes first. Had to figure that part out later. And it plays a random event. So if you qualify with the hula lanes, you get 1 of 4. I, of course, only wanted to focus on one of them. I decided to clone the random event so that I could create a conditional and it would handle it in case multiball was happening or not. I called it multiball engaged. That's what I could think of for a flag to be on or off. And then I was going to save it with the current player. And if it was engaged, then I didn't want to allow a multi-ball to start, so I would delete it from this second option. And then if the multi-ball was not engaged, it would just treat the scoop like normal. I needed to go and add a setter and a resetter for that variable, so I added it into base. Copy paste. And of course remember the syntax and type it all out. And if you don't initialize any of your variables, it will default to 0. But I was a good boy in this one, and I initialized it in the player vars and base, which we'll see in a second. So set sets it to 1, reset sets it back to 0. And here's the config where I add the player vars and initialize it to 0. It defaults player variables to int, so I didn't have to type that in. Of course, you want to give it a run every once in a while to make sure that it doesn't have any grammar errors. I then proceeded to go through each of the modes and said, hey, when you start, I want you to set that this multi-ball is engaged. So I did it for Sneaky Tiki, I did it for Volcano, and then I want to do a reset when that mode was stopped so that it would allow it to do another multi-ball after that. For the hula, the scoop, I had to intercept the event since there wasn't an easy way to just put a conditional in. So I did a 2-step process. First, of course, when the multiball started, I just did that event player and did the set. And then if it was rewarded, I did a reset. Or if the multiball ended, I did a reset, I should say. I had a duplicate that took me some time to troubleshoot there. I wasn't able to figure it out until I ran it a couple times. And finally did, and so I put the event player up above. It took me a couple tries to get there, then it finally worked again. So I tried commenting it out because I wanted to force a multi-ball reward on the first hit. And checking out the other modes to make sure I had them where I wanted. I needed to put a conditional for starting the mode for Sneaky Tiki, and needed to put the variable that we created inside of there. So boom, paste it in. Well, copy it first and then paste it. So if there is no multiball started, we will start the multiball. That's basically what that says. I had some issues understanding the scoop and held ball. I put an intercept in there so that I could test it out. I don't know if this was necessarily needed, but it's what I ended up doing because it helped me during the troubleshooting process. Because I thought that the conditional and random event player might not be working right, but I think it does. It's not an issue. But I put this event there, which will redirect it to the one with the multiball reward or one without the multiball reward, depending on the conditional. Of course, if multiball is not engaged, we will allow the multiball. If it is engaged, we will not allow a multiball to be added. I try and make my words like English so that you can just read a sentence. And hopefully it makes sense. Also had to add the conditional to starting the Sneaky Tiki multiball. So we just copied and pasted it over. You only want to start the mode if you are not already in the multiball, so it's got to be equal to 0. And then I added another reset so that when you started this, when your lock was done, we intercepted it so that we could check it right there too. So we couldn't add a conditional onto that 27, so I added it in an event player with another event that intercepted first. So I created start volcano multiball, and that led to the multiball volcano. And then we tested it out, and then we made sure that the modes were running using the event player. I had some issues, had to run it again. And I cleaned out the log that way. And I'm not very good with understanding the VUX. It took me a while to understand the scoops, making sure that it would handle multiball correctly. So it took me a couple iterations to go through this over and over again. And then I would track down all the events that were running, making sure I was doing what I expected as I launched each of the multiballs, making sure it wouldn't start another multiball if it was already going on. And I just think this game is really cool. Here I was checking more of the modes, making sure the volcano qualifier and the sneaky tiki were active, but they didn't allow you to start if a different multi-ball was started. I restarted hula, went into the scoop, and there it starts the sneaky multi-ball.
You're welcome.
Trying all the different modes, make sure one will start and the other won't start. Here we go, starting the volcano multi-ball. Once I kind of figured out how to do the vuck and the trough, it helped a little bit. So I didn't show you probably all the times that I ran through this. It was probably like 5 or 6 times of running, starting, checking the modes, checking player variables, seeing what was running, what wasn't running, making sure the events were firing off in the order I expected. Here I was looking for the player variable, multi-ball engaged. I could look it up individually, making sure that, hey, multi-ball is already going. Let's not allow another one to start. And then I could just search through and find what I was looking for. Here I found a problem where the volcano was stopped, but it didn't set that player variable back to 0. So I ended up swapping these two, and somehow that magically made it better. So I don't know why the mode events when stopped had to be fired in the other order, but it fixed it for this one. Started the game, launched a ball. Made sure I had my events up, and then added a ball to the volcano. Made sure I tracked the...
You're welcome.
That I wanted to eject another one. Added another ball.
You're welcome.
Ejected another one.
You're welcome.
And added the third ball. Wait, started the multi-ball mode, and then if I got all the balls out, and then put them in the trough. Well, first want to make sure the scoop didn't give us another multi-ball. And the sneaky tiki didn't give us another multi-ball. We got the famous pork. So I killed the multi-ball mode. And then I wanted to show that I could start another multi-ball. So I went for the scoop, and boom, it gave us the multi-ball right away. So we showed that we locked out the scoop from Volcano. All right, and that's it for this walkthrough. So hopefully it helped you guys understand a little bit more about conditionals. Feel free to ask me any questions.